Hi everybody, Sean and Catherine here with Monorail Central. Today we are going to be reviewing our experience at Tiana's Place, which is one of the standard rotational dining restaurants aboard the Disney Wonder. We ate at Tiana's Place 3 times during our sailing, but today we are only going to be discussing Standard Rotation Menu 1 and Standard Rotation Menu 2, which are the 2 regular menus you'd find at Tiana's Place, with the addition of some Alaska-specific regional inspirations.
We were on board the Disney Wonder on a 9-night Alaskan cruise out of Vancouver during July 2024, and we celebrated our honeymoon while we were on board, as well as Sean's birthday. It is my favorite cruise that we have ever done, and I'm really excited to be sharing our dining experiences with you guys right now, and also in our videos to come about our whole experience on the Disney Wonder.
We're going to start with the first regular rotation menu for Tiana's. This is also sometimes known as the Princess Menu. This menu is going to be your guaranteed menu for Tiana's Place, no matter how many nights you are sailing aboard the Disney Wonder. This will either be your first night, or if you're on a specialty cruise like we were, this may be your second night, depending on your dining rotation.
To start our experience at Tiana's Place off, we have the bread service, and on the first night this was a fig and date ciabatta roll with a minted yogurt dip, and this bread was cold and stale.
I wouldn't say stale, it was just, yeah, it was cold. What I've been accustomed to on all my Disney cruises is that your bread service is served warm, and it was kind of a theme on this sailing in particular that all the bread was cold except for maybe one night. Regardless though, the bread was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Would have been a lot better if it was warmed up. The minted yogurt dip thing, I don't think it was that good. I understand figs and dates go well with minted yogurt, but in this particular instance, I would have rather just used the butter that they had provided.
We had to ask for the butter, actually.
Yeah, we did have to ask for the butter.
That was just a little side note of our experience there, but we had to ask for butter. I enjoyed the French dinner roll that was provided, the singular French dinner roll that was provided over the fig and date ciabatta roll. They just weren't my cup of tea, and I didn't really like the yogurt dip either.
I was a fan of the fig and date loaf. I thought it was really sweet and, really good palate opener.
To start off with our appetizer courses, I had one of the standard appetizers, which was the Louisiana Hot Crab Dip, and this was served with toasted croutons, and I loved this appetizer.
And you don't like crab.
I don't really like crab, and I don't really like Louisiana hot things.
I love crab. And I'm a little indifferent to Louisiana hot sometimes, but I wouldn't say this was like spicy hot, but it was, really temperature-wise, it was really nice. The toasted croutons they gave you, those were good as well. However, they didn't give you nearly enough. The dip to crouton ratio was just not there. We actually wound up having to use our dinner French roll.
It was a really, really good appetizer, and definitely something I'll get again if we find ourselves back on the Wonder.
Definitely.
I also ordered a second appetizer from the Regional Inspirations menu, and this was the warm cheddar cheese and Applewood-smoked bacon tartlet with creamed leeks. This was also really good, but the tartlet dough ratio to the actual quiche was off. There was way too much dough for the little amount of egg and bacon that there was. It was a really good appetizer. I did really like it. I just would have liked it to be a little bit more proportional, so that way every bite I had the same flavors overall, instead of at the end I was just eating dough.
I tried a little bit of this as well. The cheese flavor was strong with this one, which was really good. And I do kind of have to agree, there was a little too much tart for our taste. The tart was also a little bit on the drier side than what I'm accustomed to. Cream leeks though, we do.
They were.
Yeah, I usually don't like leeks, but this is a garnish paired really well with everything else in between. For my starters on this sailing, I went ahead with one of the standard soups. I had the country green lentil soup, served with paprika, chorizo sausage, and vegetables. This soup was pretty standard. It's a lentil soup. There's not too much you can do with it. The chorizo sausage really did add a nice little bit of kick and flavor. So yeah, it was just a regular lentil soup. Not bad, not the best lentil soup I've ever had. And then for my second starter, I got the other soup, which on this sailing was an Alaskan regional inspiration. It was the cream of spinach soup served with pumpernickel croutons, and this was by far my favorite thing I had our entire 2.5-week honeymoon. Between Disneyland, our cruise, Vancouver, Canada, Seattle, this was by far my favorite thing. It was so good, in fact, that I asked my head server, Gerald, to get us the recipe for it.
That was an adventure in and of itself.
Yeah, it was.
They didn't have it stored on any of the computers on the Wonder, so he had to call the shoreside office in Orlando, Florida, to have it emailed to him on the ship to then print out and deliver to our room for us, which was above and beyond.
High praise for Gerald. He was one of my favorite head servers. The soup, however, was not very heavy with the spinach flavor, which can definitely happen with spinach-based appetizers or food items in general. It had a very nice creamy texture. Pumpernickel croutons that they served with it were also really good. Not really something that I would expect to pair with spinach. It was so good. We actually made it here at home, and even though we were missing 1 or 2 ingredients, I'm glad I got that recipe, because now I don't have to travel across the country or halfway across the globe to go try it on the Wonder.
For my standard entree, I ordered the oven roasted tom turkey breast, and this came with green beans, mashed sweet potatoes, rosemary stuffing, giblet gravy, and a cranberry relish. I was not happy with this meal. Unfortunately, the turkey was very dry, even with that gravy. The stuffing, I know it said it was a rosemary stuffing, but it kind of tasted to me like apples and cinnamon, which was really off-putting. It was also very, very dry. It was not a great stuffing. The green beans were just green beans.
They tasted frozen.
I could make the same green beans at home in the microwave. And then the mashed sweet potatoes. I don't normally like sweet potatoes, so Sean tried them rather than me trying them, and
they were definitely the best part of the entire dish. I would order just a side of those mashed sweet potatoes.
Unfortunately, the tom turkey dinner is not my selection for this meal.
Even the dark meat that you had was dry, and dark meat's, juicier cut of meat on a turkey. That was dry. And yeah, like the stuffing, when you're expecting rosemary and then you get apples and cinnamon and absolutely no rosemary taste at all, it's very off-putting, especially when you have those sweet potatoes on the plate. Like, it was overpowering. It didn't mix well with the flavors that you got on the plate. I would definitely skip this if we go back on the Wonder.
Yep.
For my standard entree, I got the lime marinated jumbo shrimp served with jambalaya rice, chicken, andouille sausage, celery, and Cajun spices. And everything on this plate, except the shrimp, was exceptionally good. That jambalaya rice was really, really good. The only thing wrong was they overcooked the shrimp, which has been Disney's Achilles heel these last few months, is cooking shrimp. These shrimp still also had the tails on, which, if you're not eating a shrimp cocktail, why are the tails still on? I would get this only for the rice. Like, your server might give you a strange look when you ask for the lime marinated jumbo shrimp without the shrimp. You can always ask for just a side of anything off of any entree. We saw it happen. I've done it in the past. Get the rice. Don't get the shrimp. Then we each also opted to try a regional entree from Tiana's Place. For my regional entree, I decided to get the Northern Vegetable Turnover, which was a pastry turnover baked and stuffed with goat cheese, asparagus, white cabbage, peas, cipollini onions, and chard, served with the white onion sauce. Say that 5 times fast. Not the worst thing I had on board. It was a very bland turnover itself. The saving grace was the sauce that they had on the bottom, which was really packed with flavor. If you cut the turnover and you dip it in there, that really opened up this entire dish. Not something that I would go out of my way for, but if it was available, I'd definitely try it again. The asparagus, by the way, again, was severely undercooked. I don't know what it's been with Disney recently with undercooking asparagus, but when you take a bite out of undercooked asparagus, it's very bitter. So Yeah, I just took one bite and left that off to the side.
For my regional inspiration, I had the baked fillet of Bering sea halibut, and that was served with creamed potatoes, sautéed fennel, and a light dill cream sauce. And this was the best thing I had all night. The crab dip was really good. That's my number one appetizer, but this halibut was the best thing I had all night. It was cooked perfectly, it was seasoned wonderfully, the mashed potatoes with the creamy dill sauce, it just flavors blended together perfectly. It's just a wonderful thing to be in Alaska and be eating halibut, and I can't say enough good things about this halibut.
Halibut is not my cup of tea. I'm not a big fan of halibut. Had it multiple times before, and it's just never sat with me. The mashed potatoes on this were divine. They were so good. Not as good as my soup, though. That soup was on my mind the entire night.
Now, the reason I chose to get halibut is because on our excursion in Ketchikan, we went salmon fishing at Knudsen Cove, and we had a really fun experience. We did not catch any salmon, but I caught a 27-inch halibut. And I was so excited. I did it all by myself. So I told myself when we got back on the cruise ship, every time halibut is available on the menu, I'm ordering it. And this halibut did not let me down. Now on to dessert. For my first dessert, I had the Prince Naveen's Flourless chocolate cake. And this was layered with vanilla and chocolate cream with a hazelnut sauce. This was pretty good. Disney does a lot of flourless chocolate cakes. I think it's available on every single cruise ship. I don't think they've done it right yet.
This is one of the better ones.
It's one of the better ones. I will agree about that. It is one of the better ones. It still wasn't my favorite dessert of the night. They're either way too heavy or the flavor profile doesn't match with all of the components.
It wasn't overly dense.
No.
Like most flourless chocolate cakes can be, but it also wasn't too flavorful.
It was just there.
Yeah, skip it. They have plenty of other dessert options at Tiana's to choose from. For my first dessert, I decided to get the Louisiana Root Beer Crème, which was served with a cherry parfait and honeycomb crunch. The way this was explained to me when I asked about it was that it was going to taste like a root beer float. And this to me just tasted like Jell-O that you forgot to put the flavoring packet in. No root beer taste whatsoever in this. And this cherry parfait that they gave you was the exact same thing. It was just like a little gelatinous thing on the plate that didn't really taste like cherries. And the honeycomb crunch that they have, yeah, it was honeycomb crunch, but you might as well not have even put it on the menu. It was just so little and so flavorless. This was no bueno.
I didn't even try it. I took one look at it and said, that texture is gonna make me jump off the ship.
For my second dessert of the night, I decided to get the Banoffee Cream Pie, which was a caramel toffee base topped with bananas and an abundance of whipped cream.
And when they say abundance of whipped cream, they meant abundance of whipped cream.
Yeah, there was more whipped cream than pie on this plate, but the flavor profile was much better than the other two desserts we tried. If you like bananas, this is the dessert for you. You know, the toffee flavor wasn't too overpowering. It was there, but, you know, toffee and bananas, they go hand in hand.
That's why it's called Banoffee. It's called Banoffee Cream Pie because it's bananas and toffee.
I knew that.
Am I just stupid?
Kinda. I mean, the flavor profile between bananas and toffee, that's, that's really unmistakable. It's really good. So, not too heavy flavor profile, just right.
For our last dessert that we shared, we had the regional inspiration, which was a baked Alaska, which is a sponge loaf layered with chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla ice cream, covered with burnt meringue. And this was my favorite dessert of the night. It was so good. Just the sponge loaf was really great. The burnt meringue was well done, and just the flavors of everything, and the ice cream was like perfectly like melty, and it was just really good.
We needed a bigger slice though.
We did. It was a small slice to be sharing between two people, especially when the other desserts were lackluster. But overall, it was a great dessert. If you're in Alaska and you have the regional inspiration menu, definitely get the regional inspiration dishes at your dinners, because they are some of the best dishes that we had on these cruises.
Definitely. If you're in Alaska, I mean, in the main dining rooms, it doesn't hurt to get the regional inspirations anyway, because all of your dishes in the main dining rooms are included with the cost of your cruise. You can get as many as you want. There's no limit. If you're only 2 people on a cruise by yourself sitting at a table alone, you might get some funny looks, but who cares? You're on vacation.
I'm just here to enjoy good food.
So that was our experience at Tiana's Place for Standard Rotation 1, otherwise known as the Princess Menu. Some hits or misses. Definitely the winners of the night were the regional inspirations and then the appetizers. Appetizers were all really good. If you're going to be on the Disney Wonder, this is your guaranteed menu, minus the regional inspirations. Nothing really too terrible other than the shrimp and the turkey.
Everything else is pretty good.
Everything else was really good. So now we are going to move on to our second standard rotational dining menu at Tiana's. This is also commonly known as the Mardi Gras Menu. If you are on a 6-night or longer cruise aboard the Disney Wonder, you are guaranteed to get the Mardi Gras Menu. We had this on our night 8.
For our bread service this night, we had the herbed brioche served with a roasted onion dip, and this was the one bread service that was served warm.
Yay!
Woo! And it was a pretty good bread. I was obsessed with this bread.
It was.
I probably ate
the whole thing.
I probably ate more than half of it.
Yeah, we ate the whole thing by the end of the night.
And normally, like, they'll kind of come and clear out the bread, like, if you're not eating it, and it's gone by the end of the soup course, so that way they can put your main courses out. That bread stayed on the table the whole entire meal, because we were still picking at it. And that roasted onion dip, so good. The bread was also really good with just butter, but the roasted onion dip was just so good. It was just an excellent addition to that bread service. I just can't say good enough things about it. It was probably my favorite bread service of the entire trip.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because it was served warm.
I wish I asked for the recipe for this onion dip, because I want this with every single thing I ever eat for the rest of my life. It was so good. It had that little bit of roasted garlickiness to it, and the onion flavor was just divine.
For my appetizer this night, I had the sautéed Gulf shrimp and grits. This was served with andouille sausage, grilled green onions, and a smoked barbecue sauce. And this was just okay. The shrimp was overcooked again, and the grits, some of them were cooked fine. The other half of them were congealed together and came up as a solid forkful. And again, I'm someone that textures throw me off very easily, so I did not really enjoy this entree. I did, however, really like the grits with the andouille sausage and that cheese. That was good. The shrimp, they're just so overcooked.
If you look at the picture, they make a giant number 9.
That's how you know they're overcooked. That one all the way on the right is like even tighter curled. Like it's... I don't understand. I don't understand. They weren't great. They weren't the worst shrimp I've had. I don't know.
The shrimp was very tough too. It was like eating into a rubber bullet. Not good. The texture of the grits, how some of them were just perfectly cooked and the others were just this congealed blech. Yeah, the inconsistency with the grits is really what did it for us. I know it's supposed to be New Orleans themed and you want to get the New Orleans food. Don't do the shrimp and grits. Get something else.
Yeah.
My appetizer was the Boudin sausage fritters. This was minced pork and Boudin sausage, breaded and fried, served with a bourbon aioli. These were really flavorful. If you don't like bourbon, though, or bourbon flavored things, don't get this. This was a very strong bourbon-y flavor in the aioli. I'm not necessarily somebody who likes to eat pork all the time. I like very tender, like pork belly, and I can eat it in appetizers like fritters or dumplings even. But these were really good. Very savory. You only get 3, which I actually think was the perfect amount.
For my soup, I got the Mama Odie's creamy tomato soup, which is served with chopped cilantro, and this was so good. I'm a big tomato soup fan, and I have to say this is probably my favorite tomato soup that I've had from Disney in a long time. it was perfect. It was the right amount of savoriness. If you like tomato soup and you're on a Disney cruise with Tiana's Place, order the tomato soup.
I don't like tomatoes, and I typically don't like tomato soup. This was outstanding tomato soup. It wasn't very acidic. It was more tomato biscuity to me, in my opinion. Like, you could definitely tell they put a lot of heavy cream in this soup. And even better, on the Wonder, this is the tomato soup that you get at room service as well. Like, we ordered this for room service, I think, on the last night, and it was the exact same as this tomato soup.
And with room service, it comes with a little grilled cheese. Alright, we're not reviewing room service. But this soup, just get this soup. Get this soup.
If you're on the Wonder, get this soup. And if you're on the Wonder and you're not going to Tiana's Place for the second rotation, order it via room service. Don't order it on the Wish though, because it is a completely different tomato soup on the Wish. And it wasn't good when we tried it, but we're trying the Wish again. So,
we'll see.
Stand by for that. For my soup, I opted to go for the New Orleans Seafood Pepper Pot, which was a Creole bouillabaisse with calamari, shrimp, scallops, and flat leaf parsley. Now, contrary to our experiences with Disney in the past, the shrimp in the pepper pot was actually cooked perfectly. It wasn't tough, it wasn't overcooked, and it actually had a really nice taste to it. Same with the calamari and the scallops in this soup. Also cooked perfectly, and then the bouillabaisse was really good. Not overly seasoned. I would 100% get this again at Tiana's Place.
Skip the appetizers, get the soups.
Yes, definitely. Skip the appetizers, get the soups. So, entrees on Mardi Gras night. We tried all of them.
The first entree that we're going to be reviewing is the Charlotte Le Bouff's Bucatini pasta, which is served with pancetta, oyster mushrooms, eggplant, spinach, peas, basil, and shaved Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. This pasta was not seasoned. All of the noodles were stuck together, and it had barely any flavor. It tasted like the plain kids noodles that you would get on the kids menu.
It's like nursing home food. It was flavorless. It was almost textureless. It was gross. And even with all the accoutrements that come with it, the eggplant, the peas, what was there, bacon in it?
Pancetta.
Pancetta. It was pancetta. None of it had flavor.
No saving grace to this meal. It just wasn't good. Like, you tried to twirl a few pieces of pasta on your fork and you got the entire plate of pasta. It is not something that I will ever order again.
I tried one more time to see if maybe we were off cruise, because granted, all 9 nights of our cruise, we had some terrible food and some good food. I took one bite of this and I said, thank God I have 5 more entrees to try, because this was just bad.
I don't want to look at it anymore. Can we move on to the next thing?
So the second entree we had was the Cajun spiced sea bass over shrimp jambalaya and a crisp fennel salad with remoulade sauce. Once again, the rice here, the jambalaya rice, was the saving grace. If you take a look, the shrimp were overcooked. They weren't overcooked in the soup. Why are they overcooked in everything else? I do not know.
I don't even remember this dish.
The sea bass was flavorless. I'll just say that. Sea bass is supposed to be really packed full of flavor, and this tasted like cod. Really. It was flavorless.
I don't remember anything about it, so...
It was the rice again. The rice was really good. I'm not ordering this just for the rice. I would order just a side. No sea bass. Bad.
So, for our next entree, we have the roasted Creole half chicken, which is served with toasted corn, pecan bread pudding, buttered chard, and chicken jus. I think I ate 2 bites of this.
This wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad, it was just a lot.
It was a lot. It wasn't really seasoned all too well. It was chicken.
And the pecan bread pudding was just an interesting choice of a side.
Oh, I loved it.
It was good. I just thought it was interesting. Like, chicken and pecan bread pudding, I wouldn't think of those 2 things together. I would have liked maybe a little mashed potato moment, but that's just me. It was pretty good. It wasn't... I'd say it was just like regular half chicken. Like, it didn't
It's Costco rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, it didn't have like the Creole, like I was like expecting like a large flavor profile, a lot of seasoning, like, and it just was chicken. I had more flavorful chickens at Cabanas.
Yep. The next entree on the list is James's roasted pork tenderloin, which is sliced pork tenderloin with white rice and greens on an andouille sausage stew.
I liked the rice.
It was plain white rice. You can't go wrong with that. You can go wrong with pork though. And like I said before, I usually don't like pork by itself, and this dish is the exact reason why I don't like pork by itself. It tasted like you were eating a leather boot.
It needed liquid. It said stew. It really was just like stewed vegetables that were then drained and put down. Like there was no, it needed liquid in order to save the dish. Not save the dish, but make it better. Vastly under-seasoned and vastly overcooked.
I want you to take a look at this pork close up. This pork was drier than an Arizona summer.
Again, I don't want to look at the picture anymore because it's just, Disney has done some great pork dishes, and this was probably the worst. The only thing that we ate all of on the plate was that white rice, and they only give you a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a little ramekins worth of white rice. And it's steamed white rice. You can cook it in the microwave in 30 seconds. And we paid too much money to be on this cruise to be served crap food.
Now the last of the standard entrees that we ate was Big Daddy's roasted prime rib of beef. And this was served with a double baked potato, broccolini, sweet roasted carrots, and a red wine veal sauce. The prime rib was cold. It was cold and it didn't look good. Like it looked like it had been sitting on the plate since the first dinner rotation.
It looked like it had been sent through the macerator.
No, and that red wine veal sauce,
It was
not
disgusting.
it was terrible. It was like separated by the broccolini was broccolini. Disney Cruise Line makes broccolini all the time in every restaurant. It was nothing to write home about. The carrots, nah,
They were undercooked.
yeah.
The double baked potato wasn't good either. It was a dry double baked potato.
It wasn't good, and it's like the dish that our server recommended. That said, this is my recommendation, and they will tell you the recommendations that they give you are the best dishes of the night and what they recommend to have the best dining experience, and this was terrible.
It's not like we could have just gotten something else. It's like it wasn't to our taste because we had everything available to anyone in the restaurant. Not a single one of the standard entrees was good. However, the final entree we ate, which was one of the vegetarian entrees available, was Eudora's artichoke ravioli, served with sautéed spinach, lemon butter, sage, and pecorino cheese. This was the best main dining room entree I had the entire 9 nights of our cruise. A total curveball from everything else we had for dinner that night. It was so good. The sauce that the ravioli was in was amazing. The ravioli itself, I thought that it was fresh made in-house. Turns out, I also got the recipe for this one. It's like a brought-in ravioli, which surprised the heck out of me because that was really good. The mushrooms added a really nice umami flavor, and the spinach on this was actually pretty good. It wasn't like the chicken where it was just bitter and not pleasant to eat. I really wanted to order another one of these while we were there, but at that point we had already eaten 4 appetizers and 5 entrees, and it was also the 8th night of our cruise, so I really didn't want to overdo it. Plus, we had dessert coming up.
But this was the saving grace.
This was the saving grace. Even if you're not vegetarian, Disney Cruise Line is probably the perfect place to try vegetarian and vegan dishes because they're included with the cost of your cruise. If you don't like it, you don't have to feel bad for sending it back or wasting food. By the way, all your wasted food gets repurposed into environmentally friendly fireworks across the Disney Cruise Line fleet. So don't feel like you're wasting food because it does get put to use. Thank God I ordered this dish because it really saved the night at Tiana's Place.
Now for desserts, we also had a majority of the desserts. We had every single standard dessert. We had the signature dessert. The only dessert we did not try was the no sugar added dessert. But we had everything else. The first dessert that we had was Tiana's Buttermilk Beignets. These were dusted with powdered sugar and served with chocolate espresso dipping sauce.
These were like mini, plain, unglazed Krispy Kreme donuts. Completely different to the beignets that you could get on board at the French Quarter Lounge.
Oh yeah, completely different. And that espresso dipping sauce was no good.
Not even a hint of espresso in there.
No, I don't know what it didn't taste like a chocolate or anything like sauce. Like it did.
It tasted like chocolate liqueur.
These just were mini donuts.
They were okay. The beignets that come at an additional cost at the French Quarter Lounge, they are far better. They come with a caramel sauce, like a bourbon caramel sauce. Even though, yeah, you gotta pay $2 or $3 for 2 or 3 beignets, those were far better.
But they do,
way worth it.
They do a happy hour in the mornings for those, where if you order a coffee, you get beignets for free.
And they all share the same galley, too. On the classic ships, like the Disney Wonder, Tiana's Place is on deck 3 in the aft, and then you have Triton's midship, and then in between them you have the French Quarter Lounge. Above Tiana's Place you have Animator's Palette. All 3 of the main dining rooms and the French Quarter Lounge share the same galley. So there's really no excuse to have a different type of beignet between 2 places that are right next to each other. It confused me, because I had beignets a couple of times before this, and that's what I was expecting to get. I guess because you do have to pay for the ones at French Quarter Lounge, there may be a slight difference in quality, but not a completely different pastry.
Yeah.
Beignets, skip them.
Skip them.
Get them at French Quarter Lounge. They're much better than this.
Yep.
The next dessert we had on the list was the chocolate Daubergé gâteau, which was a 6-layer sponge cake filled with chocolate chantilly cream, and this was good. This was a really nice chocolate cake.
It was. It was very dense, so I couldn't eat a lot.
I don't even think it was that dense. To me, it was very refreshing, almost. You can tell they just pulled this out of the walk-in, too, because it was nice and cold, and it had, like, that little bit of condensation buildup. Not from the walk-in itself, but, like, when cold food hits the dining room. It was good. I would get this one again, definitely.
Definitely. The next dessert that we had was Mama Odie's white chocolate bread pudding. This was served with a praline sauce and vanilla ice cream. This was okay. I didn't really like it. It wasn't my cup of tea. So I had a little bit of it. The ice cream was really good, and the flavors all went well together. It just wasn't my thing. Not something that I was enjoying.
I don't really remember a lot of this dessert. I know I tried it, but really the only thing I could taste was the vanilla ice cream, which is just a brought in whatever Canada's local ice cream brand is there. That's what they had. So nothing to write home about. Skip it. The next dessert on the list was the New Orleans Bananas Foster Sundae, which was a French vanilla ice cream with rum-flamed caramelized bananas and whipped cream. I normally try and stray away from the sundae-based desserts at the main dining rooms, because really all it is just regular hard scoop name brand ice cream. But in this case, I like Bananas Foster, and I wanted to see what they were going to do with something like this in a New Orleans themed restaurant. And it was okay. I could have made something better at home, probably, with French vanilla ice cream and bananas. The way they have it structured as well, with all the Bananas Foster stuff at the bottom of the glass, means you gotta go digging for it, and then you're making a mess on the table. They didn't give us a plate along with this glass like they normally do. Normally it's the plate and then your little paper thing and then the glass full of ice cream. So I wound up making a mess, and our poor server, he had to deal with that at the end of the night. Oh well.
Oh well.
It is what it is. It's ice cream. You get free ice cream on deck.
Yep. I did not try this because I do not like bananas or Bananas Foster. So.
Lame.
And then the last dessert that we had at Tiana's Place was the signature dessert, which was a southern style pecan nut tart with bourbon caramel sauce. And this was dry. It was so dry, in fact, that I took one bite and was done.
This tart was dry as a bone. It was like eating corkboard. And, you know, with pecan, if you've ever had a pecan tart or pecan pie before, you know it has this nice moist inside where it's almost like eating pecan butter. This wasn't any of it. This was just dry, and the The bourbon caramel sauce on it really didn't do it any favors either. It was really just a dulce de leche sauce.
Yeah.
No bourbon to be found.
It wasn't good.
I kind of wish Night 2 at Tiana's had regional inspirations, because then it probably would have spared us from all that despair. Other than the artichoke ravioli, though, everything at Tiana's Place on the second rotation on Mardi Gras night was just not good.
The soups.
The soups were good. The artichoke ravioli and the soups. That would really be the only thing I would go for. If I had to pick a night where I was going to skip my main dining room and go to Palo for dinner, it would be Tiana's Rotation 2, the Mardi Gras night.
Yeah.
So, our overall experience at Tiana's Place for the standard dining rotation menus was okay.
Lackluster.
Given Disney's history with New Orleans themed food at Disneyland and at other places, sometimes when they have a New Orleans themed dish at Walt Disney World, they take a lot of care into making sure that that's really good. Especially now with the resurgence of Princess and the Frog, you would think that they'd pay even more attention to making sure that all of the food was good and edible.
There were some highlights. There were some very, very low points. But overall, we had a good experience. And the environment at Tiana's is just so lively. And they do a parade, they have a live band, Tiana comes out and sings, Louis comes parading around the restaurant, and it's so lively and fun, but the food is just lacking, and especially for a princess where this is her restaurant and she's known for her food, it's just disappointing, and I just think it could be way better. And I hope that next time we're on the Wonder, it is way better.
And I know it has been better at points. We have friends that have been on the Wonder before, especially when Tiana's Place first opened after, what was it, the 2018 refurbishment of the Disney Wonder. Tiana's Place was the restaurant to eat at. And unfortunately, like I said, if I had to pick a night where I was going to skip a main dining room and go to Palo for dinner, it would be Tiana's Place Mardi Gras night. So that is our review of Tiana's Place aboard the Disney Wonder.
We hope that you enjoyed watching this video and hearing our thoughts on the food. While it was a disappointing experience, we are very excited to continue sharing our dining rotations with you on the channel.
We hope that this video provided you with some important information needed to plan your cruise aboard the Disney Wonder. Definitely form your own opinions. Food quality can definitely change with different contracts for the crew members. So, 6 months from now, Tiana's Place may be the best place to eat aboard the Disney Wonder again. If you enjoyed this dining review and would like to see more like this in the future, please be sure to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to Monorail Central. For more Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney World, Disneyland, and Disney Vacation Club content, as well as more Walt Disney World Monorail projects.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all real soon.